Welcome to Speech Talk Live. This is episode number 45. My name is Jay Osa. I'm the host of the show, and I have my co-host, Julie Wolfinkelstein, joining us. And we do this show every week as a way to help people with their public speaking. Public speaking, and one of the topic that we are going to discuss today, and it's something I kind of stumbled upon, is this whole concept of, is it complicated or complex? And Julie and I are going to have a discussion because I believe public speaking is quite complex. In fact, I've included that in one chapter I devoted to discussing that. So perhaps this discussion will help me make that chapter better. But anyway, what we do on this show is very simple. As I said, our purpose here is to help others with this difficult skill. And it is quite difficult. Once you start working on it, you think you know it. You don't. It is a lifelong effort, and it takes a lot of work. The reason we do this show is because we really are passionate about this. We like to learn, we like to teach, we like to coach, and we also like to get better at it. We just don't want to tell you what to do. We also want to get better along the way too. Otherwise, we would have no credibility with you. The other thing is that we are both mentors. We mentor the Coursera Introduction to Public Speaking course, and I think we've done it now for more than a year, both of us. And this is sort of our way. And again, Coursera's community is like, people hop on and hop off. We really don't know. It's an on-demand course. We don't know who's really taking it from start to finish. So the best way we can help that community is to do these shows and then put it out on the Coursera discussion forum to see whoever is going to really view it. It's very difficult we tried this to take a community cohort from start to finish. It just didn't work out. People, like I said, other priorities take over, and it just didn't work out. So this is our way of helping out rather than doing it the other way. Since the course has already been created by Coursera and University of Washington and the lecturer, Dr. McGarity from University of Washington. And that's a great course, but that's the course, that's the content. You still have to do the work and record the speeches. So that's what we do. And let me just briefly go over the show today. We'll have, as usual, we'll use up our time. At the end of it, I'll give a 90-second insight on something that I came up with, and then Julie will do her introduction. But let me just briefly go over the show. So we have 3 segments. The first segment is something I've taken out from something that I had recorded, or we've discussed it in the past, that has to do with the message hack. And a message hack is kind of important because when you get in front of people, you need to have a message. And a message, before you get in front of people, you should actually test it out. So this is, I used to call it the lean speech method, but it's mostly really to come up with a message that you can iteratively make it better so that it resonates with the people that you're talking to or in front of an audience. So we'll go over that, and we'll have a discussion on it, on how do you craft that? And it's very important to get that right. The second segment is Julie has recorded 2 videos, and this is again her continuation series where she's showing you how to record a video where you want to show something. And what Julie's showing is her stretching exercises. She calls it the hacks, integral stretch. She'll describe that. So she'll go over it, and this time she's recorded in 2 videos, which I think actually works out better. So we'll have a discussion around that. And the third thing is the discussion on speech being complicated versus complex. So at this point, I just want to kind of do a 90-second insight. And one of the things that I came up with is public speaking is one of those skills you pretty much have to learn without a teacher. Now, I know we all like to have a teacher, but it's at some point you really can't, because the teacher is not going to be there all the time. And I came across this method that Benjamin Franklin used on how he became a writer. And what he did was he would take, and I'm going to go into this in more detail at some point in time, but I just wanted to give it to you at this point since I came up with it. I found out about it this morning. And what he did was he wanted to become a writer. So he would read this magazine Spectator. And when he saw a good article, he would jot down the notes, and then after a few days, try to reproduce that, and then make changes as necessary to see how closely he came to the original writing. And from that, he found out he had some other weaknesses, and he started working on that, and eventually he did become one of the best writers in this country. So it's something that you can also apply to speaking, and it's something that Julie and I will discuss, and hopefully we can call it the Franklin Challenge on how you can learn by yourself. So I'll go into that more, but I just wanted to get that out, that this is a skill where you're going to have to learn without a teacher, because it's not possible for a teacher to really work with you at the level that's required for you to become, a good to great speaker. All right, at this point, I'm going to let Julie introduce herself, and then we'll get moving with our first segment. Julie, why don't you take over?
Oh, good morning, Jay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm just so excited to be here today. I am not sure who I am. I am in the process of discovery and exploration. I think one of my key things is catalytic processing. I like to help people. I like to debug people where they're stuck, and then they naturally open up to the next level. So I can do that via workshop, classes, or coaching. So I'm not sure which way I'm going. And today, the idea I want to share today is the practice of practicing. So recently, Jay and I and a few other people, I had several incidents. And when I get 3 incidents, then I think it's time for me to pay attention. And that's practice. One of my Zen musician friends, he wrote an article on practice, and hopefully I'll be able to include that in our blogs. And so practicing is the key to success. And I don't think you can succeed in anything without practicing. And what I find that when you look at something into itself, it's called the meta. So I'm looking at meta processing, and I have 7 key points. First of all is make a commitment and write it down, which is similar to what Jay says about practicing with public speaking. You have to write down a goal. Secondly is have fun, experiment. Don't look at the outcome. Look at it as information and use it as a feedback loop. So iteration, looking at whatever comes out as information to go the next step. 3 is have a regular practice, daily, even if it's 3 or 5 minutes. If you make a daily practice, even if it's 30 seconds, it creates a stream of coming. There are others, and I hope to write a speech on it, but I think without practicing, you cannot succeed. So whether your goal is to become enlightened and become a spiritual leader in the universe of everything, or whether you want to be a successful business person or work on your personal relationships, or whether you want to be healthy and you have stress or illnesses, practice is the key to get to the next level. And for myself, as Jay knows, that one of my key practices is to have a study buddy like Jay, and we continue to work each other, support each other, and challenge each other. And we give each other permission to do that. So whatever you do, pick a practice and it'll change all of you. Thank you.
Okay, back. All right. Somebody was trying to reach me, and I had to tell them I can't talk to you right now. I'm in the middle of something. So anyway, thanks a lot, Julie. That was excellent. And I'm going to take a brief pause so we can move on to our first segment. Okay, welcome back to Speech Talk Live, episode number 45. My name is Jay Oza, and my co-host is Julie Wu Finkelstein. And in this segment, segment 1, we're going to discuss one aspect of part of creating a message. And this is a message that, depending on how you're using it, like Julie likes to use it for coming up with your own identity. But it also could be more outward focused on whether somebody asks you about something, whether it's what do you do, what are you working on, whatever. And rather than going into a specific, you first want to get the other person excited on what you're doing. And the burden falls on you to do that. The other person doesn't, you don't know whether that person, because people ask, like you always ask, the kids figured this out, like, how are you doing? And the kids will say, good. Well, actually, I used to thought it was a stupid answer, but now more I think about it, that's actually a good answer, because if the parents are not challenging the kids, then why should they give you more than good? If good gets it done for them, then they're done. Is the parent really interested or not? So I think the kids have figured it out, accidentally or what? Maybe they're much smarter than we think they are. So in a way, I don't think you want to say, like, a lot of times we do that, where people ask you, how are you doing, and we just say good, fine, things like that. But I think there's an opportunity where you can actually, if you prepare, you can give a very little bit more than good. You can give like a one sentence, which is high level. And if the person is really interested, will ask you more questions. And it's a way for you to engage. One of the things we are not good at is, in order to get to a certain level, you got to start engaging with people. And a lot of times we don't even plan on how to engage. We just think it happens automatically. And the reality is it doesn't happen automatically. You got to work at it. Everything is work. There are no accidents. Accidents can happen, but you can make your accidents more predictable. If you can actually predict your accidents, if you can spend some time before you go get out of the house and saying, if somebody asks you this question, how are you going to answer it? When you haven't planned, the answer tends to be good, fine. And I always tell my son, he's 14, that when I'm having a conversation with him, there are only two types of conversationalist. Well, one of them is not, I don't even know if you can call them a conversationalist. There are only two types of either you're a conversation ender or you're a conversation extender. And the way you answer the question, the way how you handle that one sentence, you'll find out quickly whether the other person is a conversation ender or a conversation extender. So it's very important that one sentence is well thought out. It's something you have to keep on working at, because it is difficult. Like if somebody asks me, and I keep working on it, I have a whiteboard here, and I always try different things when it comes to, like, what do I do? And one of the things that I've included in this video is that I coach people win with their speeches. Now, there's a lot of stuff there that I've included there that are pretty simple. I coach people. Sometimes are interested in coaching. They may go that angle. The other one is win. Who doesn't like to win? That could get somebody interested. The third part is speeches. People have fear of public speaking. So I've given them three things that they could pick out: coach, win, speeches. If they can't pick up any one of them, then obviously that person is a conversation ender. I can't force engage. I've done everything that I can to engage. Now it's up to the other person to also reciprocate and then say, okay, I'm going to extend that. I want to know more about it. So I think it's very important that you work on one sentence, but keep it short. A lot of people squeeze too much into that one sentence. That becomes a pitch, in my opinion. So don't make one sentence a pitch. That's something that I don't think we have ever explained that closely. But a pitch is almost a permission that you have to get in order to pitch. You can't just go and say, hey, Julie, let me give you a pitch on what I do. I mean, she's going to say, get lost, okay? She's going to think this guy's weird and not, won't have a conversation with me after that. So you have to kind of have that rhythm, the cadence on how to engage with people. And the message hack was sort of our way, but a lot of these nuances we are kind of discussing, because when you do it, you realize that it's not that simple on you need to develop that cadence. And a lot of it you'll develop it once you get it, but you do have to put in the time to do that. So, Julie, what do you think? You worked on your one sentence for what you do. What are your thoughts on it? Because I think one of the things I've noticed with people is that their one sentence gets too detailed, that after a while it's mostly they're speaking to themselves rather than to the other person that they're speaking to.
Yeah, Jay, I actually really love this idea of one sentence as like the core idea. And I think that's what you're driving to. And I'll relate it to a couple of things. One is something I'm working on with somebody, and the second thing is some neuroscience information. So I am working with this woman, and we started off with saying her asking me to help her with her bio. And we went into this whole explosion of who she is and what she does. And I think that's very important that when you work on that one sentence is to kind of open it up before you close it down. Because what I found that with working with this idea of one sentence, which is your hacker speech, is what you're really doing is to find the center of the gravity of things. And then everything else can rotate it. So once you get that one sentence right, you can, it's almost like a prism. You can get infinite number of lights. But I think you're right that the one sentence is the key to get people interested. And so with her, we're actually stuck at figuring out who she is and what's important to her. And the second thing you mentioned in your thing is like coach is what you do. So that's doing, that's your action. Winning is the benefit. And speeches is the object. Or the act, the act, I'll just call it the object or the thing you're doing with, right? So I think that in one sentence, in your little 6 words, you manage to say, this is what the action I do with when we relate to each other. Here's the benefits for the relating, and this is the area of focus, my expertise. I actually, to finish that point, I actually am taking an effective business writing class, English business writing class. And the first thing they said is in the nature of the executive summary that you want to write no more than 7 sentences, 6 to 7 sentences. So which lets me segue into the idea that this is not recently neuroscience, it's at least 10, 20 years old. Our brain takes like 6 seconds in order to shift something from short-term memory into long-term memory. So by making your sentence 6 words or 7 words long, you're actually taking a slot of time that allows people to not only shift the information from short-term memory into the long-term memory, but also connect the stuff that's in their long-term memory. It's kind of like fishing for things that are important to them and help them to come back to respond to you based on what you're fishing for. They can talk about from their long-term memory, maybe why it's so important for them to win, something that's important to them. So in your case, your 3 hooks are coaching, winning, and speeches. So if winning is very important for me, from my long-term memory, by you giving me the 6, 7 seconds, I not only go back into, take your information, shift it into long-term memory, but I can come up with something that resonates or that is attracted to those ideas, and I may say, well, it's very important for me to win. So I think that your idea of one sentence is really, really brilliant, and it works not only, as you say, I use it in identity, but you can use for any unit of, in IT we have this idea of logical unit of work. It's a logical unit of information that can be transmitted from people to people, that people can understand, absorb, and respond to. So that's my, that's what's coming up for me right now. Thanks.
No, that was excellent. there are two things that I want to add that I may have missed when I discussed it. One is that one sentence is not to make the other person know everything, right? It's more for like an engagement, like you said, hooks. Because if the first thing that happens in anything is an engagement, and if you can't get that engagement, then people make decisions very quickly. As you said, our brain doesn't process things. But if you don't come across as engaging, then the other person is not going to give you any more time. And that means that you don't want the opening sentence, the first sentence, to be too complicated. Not, you forget the word complicated. You want it to be simple. Simple in such that there can't be any jargon in there, because jargon is something you understand, the other person doesn't. So you just have to make it clever, make it simple, and get the other person. You're kind of goading the other person to ask you, like, I'm going to tell you, now it's your turn to get me to tell you. And if that person doesn't it's like, catcher pitcher. You just pitched. The other person now has to give it back to you. You just threw the ball to him. What is the person's going to do? Catch it or just whiff it? So it's a way to kind of think about it, because if you miss that chance right from the beginning, then the conversation could veer off in a totally different direction, which is not what you may want to do. And it also kind of tells you whether the other person is worth your spending more time with, because you want to somehow help them. You want to try to explore, like Julie pointed out, like there's a coaching aspect. That's one thing I do. Then there's a concept of winning. That's another angle the person can pursue. And then the third one is speeches. So that's a third path. I created 3 paths that the person can, if that person doesn't pick up any one of them and just says, oh, great, thank you. I mean, that person just ended engagement there. That person told me that I don't want to engage with you because there's nothing there that I find interesting to engage you with. And I made it so simple that if that person can't pick that up, and assuming that I have put in the time working on it, I haven't given them something that says, I am, well, even if I say I'm a researcher of Higgs boson or whatever that thing is, like somebody can say, well, what's Higgs boson? So I'm just giving you an example. So Julie, let's close this out. One other thing is the example, like I always like to use some kind of metaphor. So you remember that movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indiana Jones is, I think, in Egypt, and he's in a bazaar, and this guy wearing the black outfit takes out this sword, and he's like swinging it around, and he's got the whip, and the guy's taking out the sword, and he just takes out a gun and he shoots him. Right? You remember that famous scene, and everybody started cheering. This one sentence is like that gun you're taking out and shooting, rather than impressing people with your sword. So I always like to think of that example, that one sentence is your gun that just fires and gets the other person, achieves your objective. I don't want to deal with the sword play here. This is my one word. I'm going to fire a bullet. Take it. All right, Julie. Why don't we close it out? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think I think you're onto something. So I would like you to maybe get a workshop together, even if it's just me, and maybe play with that as a segment. I think that'd be cool.
Great, thanks. We can certainly talk about that later on how to make that happen. Okay, so at this point, we'll close this out and take a pause and move on to our next segment. Okay, welcome back to Speech Talk Live, episode number 45. My name is Jay Oza. I'm the host of the show. My co-host is Julie Wu Finkelstein, and we're moving to segment number 2. And segment number 2 is a continuation of videos that Julie has been recording. I want to thank her for doing that. She's put in quite a work, organizing the material and then recording the video. It's difficult because what she's doing is She is trying to help people with their flexibility, and also to get energized with some research that she's been. Well, it's not only research; it's something that she's been practicing for a very long time, and now she wants to give back because it has definitely benefited her immensely. And in this, what she does is, then for some of them there was a technical challenge, but actually I wanted to talk about that. She has two videos where the first one she's describing the spinal twist, and in the second one she's actually demonstrating the spinal twist. So rather than me talk about it, I will let Julie talk about set up the video, which you can all watch, which it's I have the link in the description section. But I want Julie to describe you know what she thought of her video now that she's recorded it in two parts, and then I'll give her any feedback that she wants from me. So I'd rather have her talk about it since it's the video that she has recorded, and then I'll come back and answer any questions that she has regarding the video. So Julie, why don't you take over and kind of give us an overview of what you're trying to accomplish with these videos, and then go specifically into the two videos that you did record. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, the videos can come out of a series of stretches I've been doing for 10 years. And you're right, that it's part of my my eagerness to share that, because I think they're simple and they're deep, and they work for multiple purposes. So many of us maybe have healing problems, health problems, or stress problems, and some of us want to succeed, and some of us want to be enlightened. And usually we have different practices to get that happen. And so what I'm interested in, like we're talking about the core, the center of things, these stretches, because they work at a very deep energy, body, mind level, they can help you succeed in everything that you want to do. And so that is why I'm so interested in creating these stretches. They are wonderful means of help me to practice, to learn about public speaking. And as you say, it's a modality of tutorial, online tutorials. I didn't know that I was doing that. So going back to the original idea of public speaking, is some of it is discovering what's out there, and as we find out more, it changes us. With these stretches, my idea was just a good way to practice. But as you know, I am writing a book, and you're right that it was really good to split it into two, because and it was a technical problem, as you mentioned. But the splitting it in two really clarifies the message. In the first segment where I was introducing the speech, it clarified the purpose of that move and the context that's in. And basically the way it works is it adds energy to your body, because the first steps that we did up to the step 5 is basically opening up the body, preparing the body to get energy. And what is amazing is the next few steps is changing the size of the container. That's how I like to say it, is that it's really helping us to get more energy. So the first thing we do to get that greater capacity is clearing out the old. And in this form, I demonstrated that by squeezing out the old stuff, you can bring in fresh stuff. But it also opens up new possibilities. So since you and I are both in the IT field, we know that I was a database analyst. We know that there's something called database reorganization, where the data is taken out of the database so we can make the database bigger and then put it back in a more organized fashion. So the database will function with greater capacity and performance. And this is what the spinal twist is doing. So by doing these speeches, I'm more clear about the process it's going through. And the other thing is I learned through my demonstration that the moves are how to make it easier for the people. So as I move through my series, I'm making it simpler and easier for people to understand. I would like to at this point. So I thought that it was really good. These ones I really thought I had more energy and more enthusiasm and was more organized and simplified. And I would like to get your feedback at this point. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Julie. By the way, I thought they were very effective, and I think you solved one problem that you were having before, and sometimes accidentally it works out that you had some technical issues. And I think what you probably want to do is use this particular format where the first part, 2 minutes or whatever, just focus on the explanation part of it. So you've got part one is the explanation, the explanation. Part two is once you've explained it, then you can go right into it saying, okay, now that you can just mention it, now that you understand the description, let me now demonstrate the pose. Sort of like your sandwich technique, but what you're doing is you're taking that first part description, which is important because the way you're describing it, I think it gets people, you got to create that excitement a little bit to get people to actually get to watch the second video and to actually start doing it. And then you can do it, right? So the first part is just the description. The second part, second video, and so you don't have to mention that you have technical difficulties because that's something should have been edited out. I know right now you're just doing this for practice, but if you were ever doing it for people to actually start watching it, you never want to tell you like I have technical difficulties, now I'm going to stop it, because it's something they don't need to know. You just have to work around it. So another thing to remember is that anytime you're giving a speech, don't tell other people that you're having some issues with anything. It's nothing that they care about, and it's something that they shouldn't even have to know. You just figure out workarounds, and they won't even know about it. Like if you had just told me that I'm going to do this in 2 parts, I wouldn't even have thought that there was a technical issue. So keep that in mind, that technical issues that other people don't need to know about, you never want to bring it up because they don't need to know. You just come up with a workaround. So I like that. I think that's a good way to do it. Description, then the actual demonstration, and once the demonstration is done, then just summarize it, and then there's a call to action. So come up with a formula that you can follow for all the other, and it takes a while, and I think now you're getting much better at it. So you're pretty much getting to the point where you got the hang of how to do it. And I think this one, I think you made a real big progress. There are several minor points, and these are not major things. These are minor things that you may want to consider doing. One is that before you start your poses, or I think would be the second one, I think you may want to just let people know that they should consult with their doctor, because you don't know the other person's physical situation, whether they should even do any of these poses. So I think you just want to, at some point, get that disclaimer out there, because people will start doing it and they may not be as healthy as you are, and you don't want them to get hurt. So I think you may just want to have that disclaimer either annotated and just say it. So before you begin, just consult with your doctor or something like that, okay? The second one, I think we already covered, that any kind of technical issues, you don't have to mention it. Just come up with a workaround and let it just kind of flow. Let the thing flow. The other thing I'll say in the second part, this is something, I don't know how you can take care of it since you're doing it by yourself. The spinal twist, we don't actually see you, and we hear you, but we're not actually seeing you doing it. And that is going to be one of those things where you're going to have to just learn how to edit the video. So you may have to chop it up into several parts. So once you do it, just stop it, and then you're going to have to just splice them together. So you're going to have to figure out how to use the Google's video editor, because once you just start saying, I'm going to now do the description, you're going to make sure that the camera is properly in the right spot, so that when you're actually doing the twist, and then when you're done with the twist, you can then at that point just stop it, rearrange the camera, and what you can do is you're going to have 3 videos. You can edit it and then combine them together. It'll require some work, but it's not that difficult. The Google has the video editor that you can use to do that. It may take some practice, but it's something I think you may want to do, because a lot of the things, it requires adjusting the camera, and you're going to have to do it sooner or later if you're going to do it by yourself, unless you have some cameraman who can adjust the camera for you. But I don't think you need to. You just need to just know where the camera is and see how, if it's capturing everything that you're showing. Then when you're done, just stop it at that point, and then come up and conclude what you're doing, and that's it. And then what you'll have to do is go into YouTube and edit that out, and then splice it together. So overall, I think you're getting much more comfortable at, and you already mentioned it, you're feeling comfortable, which is the main thing, not what I'm saying. But I notice it the way you introduced the spinal twist, and it was just about the right type of information for me to say, yes, this is a good setup for me to now see what Julie's going to demonstrate. And the only part that I wish I could have seen was actually see you demonstrating it. I could hear you, but I couldn't see. I could see your knees, but I couldn't see your body and what kind of twist you were actually doing. So that's something you may want to take a look at if you have seen the video. So overall, I think it was really well done, and I think you're getting better at this. So you should feel good. I think you got a making of a formula. It takes a while. It just goes to show. So people out there are watching it. Julie's been working on this now for quite some time.
Shows at 1 o'clock, so I'll go by myself.
Oh, so
1 second. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point out to people who are watching this that Julie's been working on this for quite some time now, for several weeks. And as you can see, incrementally, she's getting better at it. And the kind of feedback that she's asking. So there are several things that Julie's doing that's also something that, if you're watching this, so she actually recorded the video. Then she's actually discussing the video. And the part I think that's really important here is the way she is asking for the feedback. She's also doing a self-evaluation, and then she's asking the feedback. And then when she comes back and records the other video, she tells me that these are some of the things that I'm now working on. So she's kind of closing the loop on these things. And that's why she's improving. So people that are watching this is what you have to do. That's why this is a very difficult skill to master, because there are so many subtleties that you're just not going to see if you're doing it by yourself, that if you can get a buddy who is also interested in it, then you can really improve a lot. So as you can see, I watch these videos and I come back, ask Julie to tell us what she's thinking of it. Then I give her my feedback. And as it turned out, this thing about splitting into 2 parts just worked out great, and now she can use that as a way to record future videos. So, Julie, it was really well done. I think you're making tremendous progress. You got some little technical things here and there to take care of, but otherwise, I think you have the making of how to make these moving forward. The description, that's it. Because remember, once you are trying to do too much, you just want to just focus on, let me get the description part done. Once that's done, then you focus on the actual demonstration. So I think splitting it up makes it much better. What do you think?
Yes, Jay, I agree. It was actually easier because, I don't have, my mind can be more focused. And the second thing was, it was really nice to, as you know, I do 3 hacks. So it was really nice to do 1 hack, send it to you, and get some feedback. And so I felt like the improvement was more rapid because of your feedback. And I was just saying, a lot of the times, for many of us who's practiced for a while, the feedback we get is like, oh, I know that. But we forget at that moment. So it's always good to get feedback at the moment, and I just want to thank you for that too.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. I think many times, I don't know where I watched this, that, I think it was this guy, one of these business speakers, Blanchard, I think. And what happens is just getting somebody to talk to about what you're doing makes a big difference. and that is something that people need to do more and more. Like this one, we're just focusing on speaking, but if you're doing something in writing, find somebody else that you're going to talk to or have a Google Hangout and just focus on that one topic. We don't do that often, and in business that doesn't happen. And what he was saying is exactly what we're doing. It made sense to me. All right, Julie. So at this point, I will close it out and take a pause, and we'll move on to the next segment. Okay. Okay. Welcome back to Speech Talk Live, episode number 45. I'm the host of the show. My name is Jay Oza, and my co-host is Julie Wu-Finkelstein. And in this segment number 3, we're going to have a discussion around public speaking, and specifically around 2 words that people tend to use. And it's important that it's used correctly. Otherwise, words matter, right? If words don't matter, then you could do things and not realizing. And sometimes by looking at the words, it helps you understand the particular subject a little bit better. And the 2 words are and this is something that that came up because I was writing in my book. Like, what makes public speaking? Is it complicated or is it complex? And as it turns out, that before you can even answer that question, you need to understand what's complicated and what's complex. Now, complicated, depending on you can look at systems thinking, all kinds of thinking, right? The standard conventional definition is that complicated means it's got a lot of different moving parts, but at some point, like a rocket, building a rocket is complicated. Building an airplane is complicated. Let's say a 777 is complicated. It's got lots of parts, several million parts, whatever it is. But once it's figured out, they can keep building more 777s, and they will fly, they will land, and they will fly for a long time. So that's complicated, right? But getting an airplane to provide a good service every time you fly is complex, okay? Because now you got so many different aspects. You got people involved. Everybody has different needs. Some people may be overweight. They can't fit in the seat. They don't like the food. They don't like the flight attendants. They don't like the people that are in the plane. They don't like so many things. It's hard to please them. So the airplane, building it complicated, but providing good service to the people is quite complex, right? There are so many parts, and people are very unpredictable. It's sort of like, when you have a recipe. Once you have a recipe, you can make good food all the time. Let's say if you have a recipe on how to make lasagna. Once you have it, boom, go to the recipe and you can make it, right? So that you can do it. Building a rocket like Elon Musk, right? SpaceX. They build a rocket that can land after launching a satellite and can land in the ocean. That's complicated, but now they've got it working. They can keep doing it over and over again and reuse the rocket. But the third part is raising a child. That's complex, right? Because I have 2 kids. The first one was nothing like the second one. And each one, whatever I learned in the first one didn't really help me on the second one, okay? It's different. So public speaking is like that. The actual parts of it, like crafting a speech and using the speech hack, using the message hack, using the performance hack, all of those things are complicated, but that is doable. You can keep doing you can use the same process over and over again. The part that is you don't control is that the audience is going to be different. The way they're going to react to your speech, what they experience are going to be different. How they react to your speech are going to be completely different. That part you don't control. And that's what makes, and at the end, speaking is all about, conveying your message so that either they spread the message or take action or willing to make the change. That's complex. That's not that predictable. And that's why overall, when you think about public speaking, that's what makes public speaking complex versus complicated. So, Julie, you have a lot of systems background and technical background. What do you think? What do you think is the process versus the result? And that's where the word complicated versus complex comes in.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So when you did the speech, you shared with me this the article from Washington Post, and yeah, the complicated. My favorite story is the Meryl Streep and the movie with Alec Baldwin, and the title was "It's Complicated." It should have been "It's Complex," right? Because as you say, complicated means lots of moving parts, but if you can control the process, you get a predictable outcome. In complex, um, no matter how many moving parts there are, you cannot predict the outcome. And generally, I correlate that with the science of chaos, which is really the science of complex systems, is that you cannot really people say things like humans are alike, but you can't control a person's behavior. And I think there is something to the nature of public speaking is complicated. The process of public speaking is complicated because it takes a lot of different skills. But the audience response, as you mentioned in the speech, is complex because you cannot predict how an audience will respond. However, by using the skills, you have some ability to play in that space of public speaking, right? So what you were saying is, well, public speaking is complicated and complex because there's a lot of moving parts whenever you give a speech. But it's also complex because you cannot control what actually will happen at that moment when you actually do the speech. Not only can you not predict audience reaction in some sense, because we are creating the speech on the fly, we don't really know spontaneously what's going to come out of our mouth from moment to moment. We can just habituate ourselves into the skill, right? So I thought that this was a very interesting dialogue, not just for speaking, but just in our lives. How do we use this idea of complicated versus complex to navigate our life through our life a little bit more skillfully by understanding these two seemingly similar, and yet there are a lot of they share attributes, but yet there's also unique differences that are very crucial. So I thank you for introducing the idea to me.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So another way to look at this is, like, for example, as you'll find that there are a lot of books written on things that are complex than complicated. Because complicated, you can have a textbook and that'll work. So I'm sure that like when you go to school, you deal with complicated stuff. So you learn about different subjects like chemistry, physics, all those things are complicated. There are a lot of formulas, but at the end, gravity still works, okay? E equals mc squared is complicated, but it works. What doesn't work is when you actually have to apply it in real world situations. So for example, what's complex are things where there are no real formulas, that they defy formulas. So for example, leadership, creativity, innovation, there are no formulas for that. Those things are complex. And that's why you keep seeing more and more books on leadership. You see more and more books on public speaking. You see more and more books on creativity and innovation. All of these things are quite complex. And people are trying to get their hands around it. They, like, I'm writing a book. I'm trying to make this simpler because public speaking is complex. I mean, Aristotle, Plato, all these guys have been talking about public speaking, and none of them wrote a definitive book saying, okay, that's it. Nobody ever will need to write a book on public speaking because I figured everything out. It just doesn't lend itself to that type of formula when it requires human beings involved, right? So the other thing is, so here's another thing that I didn't talk in the video, which I'd like to see if you have any thoughts on this. So a complicated can be very intricate and very process oriented, and that's can be very difficult, right? But you can still get it. Like Oracle database has gotten very complicated, right? Over the years, there are so many things there, just like a Cisco routers. These are all complicated, but they all work. Okay, once they're built, they all work. When something is complex, then your rules have to be a lot simpler. So database over the years, complicated, very difficult to understand, take years. Like Julie's a database expert. Database takes a long time to master, but once you master it, then you got the hang of it. But when you talk about something like public speaking, you can't have too many rules because of the complexity. When things are complex and dynamic, so a database is kind of static. When you have dynamic systems, then the rules have to be simpler. Because if that's too many rules, then then you'll never have any chance of ever succeeding. So I don't know. That's something I didn't cover in my video, but it's something I just thought about as you were talking about it. That how to tackle complexity versus complication are also different. Like like medical, doing an operation is quite complicated. But at the same time, when you're dealing with patients, you better have simple rules. Otherwise, you could really screw up things. So anyway, Julie, any thoughts on that? How do you deal with complications versus complexity?
The whole idea of quality work, like quality assurance, I think is kind of narrowing down what is complicated into a process. And so if you can create a process, you can reduce the level of complication and deliver an outcome. I think that in life, actually everything's complex. And it's a question of the degree that you are willing to accept, the degree of error you're willing to accept. So we know that in heart surgery, the degree of error, we want very small degree. But there always is a little bit of that. So in that sense, everything is complex. But once you've defined the degree of error that's acceptable, assuming you can manage to that, then everything becomes complicated, not complex. The whole idea of the science of chaos is that the outcome is not predictable from moment to moment, but there is a pattern. That if you look at the stock market, there's a pattern of up and down, and there's certain, you can see it. The mind can process that. There's a pattern that we can recognize, but from moment to moment, it's very hard to predict whether it's going up or going down. So to me, that's the nature of complexity. It's not that there isn't emergent patterns, but that from moment to moment, it's almost impossible to predict the vector, right? The direction it's going. And that's why, like actually in all the stock markets, all the financials, there's a term called quants, right? The quants are people who do the quantitative analysis, is trying to narrow down that degree of complexity. So I think there is a lot to explore in those ideas, and I think it's a very interesting discussion. So I'm really happy that you brought it up. Thanks.
All right, Julie, thanks a lot. Yeah, so this was, so I think we are in agreement that public speaking is complex, but to give a good speech can be quite complicated. And so they're both, you need to understand both. So, when people, and the reason I brought this topic up is for a simple reason, that a lot of time we beat ourselves up when, people have, like, there's a fear aspect of it. There are so many aspects of it. And I just wanted some foundation behind this, that, what we're trying to do when you give a speech, it's complex. That's just getting in front. Let's say you have fear. My God, I can't get in front of people. It's just, I just can't do it. That's complex, okay? Because you can't do it. You got to figure it out now. And then let's say you do want to figure it out and you go through, teaching, coaching, therapy, whatever, okay? Those parts to get you to have a speech, to get on the stage, gets complicated. To actually get you to start the speech, finish it, and achieving some objective is very complex. Even though that part looks like, how can that be so complex? All you're doing is speaking. It is. All right, Julie, thanks a lot. At this point, overall thoughts on the topics we covered today. I think there are some things we can explore. I think that one sentence, you think that there could be a workshop that we could do on that. This is kind of summarizing the show, and then we'll
Sure.
close it out. So I just want to get your thoughts on anything that you wanted to kind of thoughts on any topics we covered that you want to kind of discuss before we close out this program.
Yeah, I think that in the future, if time allows, I'll just send you my first hack. And then I thought that like the sentence thing is probably a core skill for public speaking and many other things. And one of the best ways a human learn is through modeling. So if we can demonstrate that in a workshop, just a segment, I think it'll be very valuable. And we'll learn how to use the idea of workshops, spontaneous workshops, as a training technique and coaching technique. So I highly, I just thought, as you know, I really enjoy these shows because I think they're stimulating and they help me grow. So thank you for creating this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Julie, as usual, for participating and always bringing your A game. And I know you put in a lot of work, not only to help the show out, but as a way to improve. And I think that's what we're looking for, that these shows are done not by people who are telling you that, we are experts and do this, do that. We're kind of showing you that what we're doing is hard. And all this stuff, you're going to have to go through it because there are no shortcuts to. So I think what makes this show kind of unique in many ways is that we're not just pontificating about public speaking, like, oh, take a look at this, do that. People who get on the stage, no matter whether they do a good job, or not so good job, getting on the stage itself takes a lot of guts and a lot of work. And then to actually be able to convey the message and get the kind of audience, create that experience, it's an art. I mean, giving a public speech is like an art. And there was one other thing that I will talk about on the next show, and that has to do with the ask. Ask is one of the very important part. But at this point, we're done with this show. So let me thank you all for watching. And as usual, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on how we can help you, if you have a question that you want to record a video, we'll be happy to take a look at and address it. So far, we haven't gotten a single one. We seem to be asking each other questions. So if you're watching this and you have a real pressing question or some specific need, then definitely, I mean, this technology is not that difficult. Just start record a video, and it's also a good way for you to practice. So at this point, I'm going to close it out and say, listen, you are how you speak, and it's a skill that it's complicated, as we just learned, but it is solvable. There are different steps that we talk about on this show that you can work on and get better. The part that we're also trying to doing is the complex part of it, is that when you actually get on stage, what should you do to make sure that you can be successful with the message that you want to convey and get and achieve your objective. So I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you in our next show, episode number 46. So thank you for watching, and at this point, we're done. All right. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And let's see, we got about what, half hour? Okay.
Yeah, I need to take a couple minutes.
Oh yeah. Why don't
Mother
you do that?
Nature calls.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, sure.
3 minutes.
Yeah,
Thank
go ahead.
you. Rich? Thanks, Jay.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. I had a few things I wanted to go over. Do you have any things?
I wanted to go over the forward with you, how I like to do it.
Okay, yeah.
But what did you want to do? Let's just create an agenda.
Oh, okay. So you want to discuss the forward. Okay, forward. Anything else that you wanted to discuss?
Not really.
Okay.
I'd like to find out the status of your book.
Oh, right. The status. Okay. The status of the book. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
that's it.
And then what I have is the title. I want to try to kind of finalize on that.
Oh, and the agenda for next week, I'm okay with whatever you come up with.
Yeah, one of them is going to be on Ask. I don't know the others.
That's fine.
I'll have to. I haven't thought that far ahead because I just wanted to get this show done.
Sure.
So the title, the other one is, there was an idea that I had for, I think based on something that came up with this guy, Raj, idea for the Coursera. So that I wanted to discuss. The other one is, I'll call it the Franklin Challenge. Just wanted to discuss that with you.
Okay.
And I think that should be enough. And then anything marketing. All right. So yeah,
that's about 3 minutes each. Okay, right?
Yeah, so go ahead. 2, 3, 4, well, 5. If it takes longer, go ahead. But forward. So what did you want to? Do you have any questions?
Well, I read your stuff. So here's my my issue, and I have a proposal. I think I want to, of course, get what you want out of it, and I'm reading it. But I want it to be more in my voice. So what I thought is I would start a dialogue. I will just do not a dialogue, but share a document. So I'll take your stuff. I will look at it. I'll craft something, and then I would like you to work on it, and we'll work on it until we're both satisfied. So I like to collaborate. Of course, it'll come out in my name. But I'd like to collaborate with you on it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good idea. Yeah, sure. I just kind of did it just so that to kind of save you some time. So I just said, look, I'll just take a start on it, and those are things. But here's an idea, Julie. So we can come up with like 10 questions. I don't know if that's enough. 10 is fine. And like I said, that Google now has this transcript it creates. So based on the answer to those questions, you'll already have the transcript that you can then take that. It'll be in your voice, right? So maybe, do you want me to take a shot at coming up with the questions? And then I'll get you to answer those questions. You can send me that. These are the kind of questions I want you to ask me. And then you will answer them. And then you can take the transcript and then edit it. And put it, and wordsmith it. So I will come up with the kind of 10 questions that I have. You can come up with, not 10 questions. I'll come up with certain number of questions. Maybe
7.
whatever.
Five
can
to seven.
we can cut it down to 10 questions, so that'll give you enough there to then take the transcript and turn it into
Okay, that's fine.
a forward. Okay, so I'll write down that the action item is to come up with questions. I have to look at it again, and I'll send you the questions. And what we'll do is we'll have to do a separate show for that, where we'll just say this is a forward, and then what I've noticed is that Google does a very good job, and you'll have all the transcript, and then you can take that, and with all the questions, I'll actually do it for you, so that way you don't have to do a lot of work since you're doing.
No. I'll do it. No worries. I'm going to learn a lot from it. So I'll be unless there's a time problem, you need it done before I can get to it. So let's just see how that goes.
Yeah. So we can do that. 10 questions, whatever number of. So we have to exchange. We have to exchange email, and we'll have to do a separate show for that. Where we just do the forward, go over for the 10 questions. Okay. Then the second part was status of the book. So I'm finishing up the third. I'm kind of going over it because there's some things that are coming up. But I mean, I'm practically done with the third draft. So my plan for that is that third draft, once it's completed, I'm hoping definitely by this weekend. What I would like to do then is, and that's where we get to that next point, title. What I'd like to do is once we firm up the title, what I'd like to do then is create a PDF and get a couple of 3 or maybe 2 to 3 beta readers from Fiverr, and I'll get the feedback from that as a way of finding out, what they liked about I'll have to come up with questions for that, and the question is, what did they like about the book? What are the things that the book can improve, and if they have any suggestions on what I can do to improve. Those are just the 3 simple questions that I would have. And that'll give me enough to say, I'm not going to nitpick them and saying like, which section did you like and which section could be this way, that way. I just want to get an overall feel for it. And once I get that, then I'll be in a position to, if it looks like something that I can make changes, I'll make it. If not, then we'll leave it as it is. And then I'll give it to a real professional editor and try to finalize the book. And then I have to get the layout. There are a lot of components to this that I never thought about, that it's not that simple. You got to work on the layout. You got to work on the design. You have to work on, there are so many different aspects of it that I haven't even looked into, but that's where the book is. So that gets to the next point on the title. So these are the titles that I have right now. And I think we've discussed this in the past. So I'll give you, there are actually, these are the titles. Where did it go? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it because it's iterative and it's very important. So let's do it now.
Okay, the title. Okay, there was a document. Okay, here it is. Actually, I included in the document. So these are the titles I'm kind of going with right now. So one of them is this one. Okay, I have 3 of them. And tell me which one you like. There are actually several here. First one, of course, you already liked. You are how you speak. So that's one. And there's like a tagline underneath that says step-by-step mastery. I think I changed it. You had something called greatness. I said step-by-step mastery to become successful at anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The second title that I like, and let me know what you think, is Speak Well Forever. Okay, so that's the one. And I came up with that idea from this book that I was reading about Pete Carroll, who's a football coach, where he said win forever. He had this concept called win forever. So I said, oh, okay, I like that. So I'll just call it Speak Well Forever. Okay. Then the other one is Speak Well for All Occasions. So I'm kind of using the Speak Well here because I've kind of latched onto that. And the last one is Speak Well Every Time. Unless you have something new to add into this, but I'd like to somehow start for this particular draft. I do.
What was the last one?
Speak well every time.
Okay.
So there are 4 of them here.
Right.
You are how you speak. Because I want it short, right? Remember the whole concept of keeping it short, and then the tagline can add more detail. So first one is you are how you speak. The second one is speak well forever. Third one is speak well for all occasions, which is kind of similar to the last one. Speak well every time.
Okay, so this is what I came up with.
Okay.
It's a little different. You are how you speak. You are how you speak. I don't know, instructions.
You had it step by step.
Yeah, I'm changing it just for now. You
Okay.
are how you speak, instructions to speak well every time. Instructions for speaking well every time. Or guidelines or trainings training for speaking. You are how you speak. That's kind of like the
Right.
bottom line, and then what you do, which is uh, trainings to speak every, step-by-step training or self-guided training.
Yeah.
Self-guided training
Let me write that down.
for speaking every time. For speaking for all occasions or something.
Yeah, that we can for self-guided training to master the skill.
Something like that. So I really like you are how you speak. That's kind of like the bottom line. And then the tagline is self-guided, something like the tools.
Step-by-step training to master
I like the
this.
word self-guided.
Self-guided. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a good
That sounded
self-guided.
very powerful. I don't know
Self-guided,
whether they're,
self-guided training to mastery or something like that.
yeah, self-guided for speak to master speaking for all occasions or something like that. To master, I know this is a little long, but
Well, how about this? Self-guided training to speak well forever, something like that.
yeah, to speak well forever or on all occasions or something like
Oh,
that.
speak well for all occasions.
I like
Okay.
all occasions better than forever
Okay.
because
One
forever
sounds.
sounds like too vague. On all occasions, someone could say, "Oh my God, I have a wedding to go to, or
Yeah,
I have
right,
a
right.
job interview." So
It's
that
much
kind of
more.
limits
It
that.
gets people to thinking about their occasion. Forever sounds too
Yeah,
nebulous.
yeah. On all occasions, kind of help them target in what they need to do, and that your book can help
Yeah,
them. So
yeah.
it's open and closed at the same time. Open and specific.
Forever sounds too salesy. Like forever. Like what does
Yeah,
that mean? I don't know what forever means. Like what? I'm not living forever. Why do I need to speak well forever?
right, right.
I'm
You
only
are
here.
you are how you speak.
So here's what I have. So let me give it to you. So this is what I jotted
Okay,
down because there were several things, but this is the last one I think you came up with. So the title is "You Are How You Speak," and the tagline underneath it is "Self-guided training to speak well for all occasions."
I like that. Do you like that?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. So let's go with
It's
that.
not a tagline. This is a whole title. This is a two-layer
Oh, oh,
title.
oh,
So
I
the
see. So,
title is the whole thing.
oh, okay. So you are how you speak, colon, self-guided training to speak well for all occasions.
I like that.
But the word speak appears twice. Is that okay?
Yeah. In
Okay.
this case, it's okay.
Self-guided training to
You can say
speak well.
so. Yeah. You can. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll say something else. Self-guided training. Right now, it's okay. Maybe
Yeah,
something
right.
else
We
will
can
come.
then, yeah, let somebody else, let us like think about this further. Okay, so that takes care of.
I like that. I really
Okay.
think that's great.
Okay, so let me get rid of that. So I think we'll go with that. Okay, so that's the title for this third draft. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so now we move to the next topic. Oh, the Franklin Challenge.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
right. Okay.
Oh, okay. So what do you think of this challenge? So I was thinking, okay,
I'm
so
not sure what you were saying. Oh, so you're saying like okay, tell me what that Franklin challenge is.
okay, so this is something.
One sentence. When you get to one sentence, we're good. We know it's good.
It's it's to learn how to speak well without a teacher.
No,
Huh?
no. The Franklin challenge, what I heard, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say no because you are doing it, but let's just play ping pong for a minute. Is looking at using successful speeches as a model to practice.
Right, but the bigger idea was what the Franklin challenge really, well, what I was really trying to say, maybe I didn't do a good job
Oh,
saying it.
okay.
What I was trying to say is that what Benjamin Franklin did was, and he was like one of these guys who always looking to self-improvement, like the only guy who thought about it and did something about it and wrote about it, right? That's why Benjamin Franklin is such an important figure. He kind of created the whole self-help movement.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
prior to Benjamin Franklin, there wasn't anybody who really thought about all the stuff that he was doing, and then he documented all of that, and he always about how to get better at something. So one of the things he wanted to get better at was writing, and he didn't have a teacher. So what he did was he read this magazine called The Spectator, and he really liked the writing in that magazine. So what he would do is he would read an article, make notes of articles that he thought were well written, and he would make notes. Then he would give some space, maybe a couple of days, and try to rewrite that, reproduce that in his own words. And he would compare that with the original writing and see, what were they doing better than him. And one thing he found out from that exercise was that he did not have the fluency in vocabulary that these writers had. So then he tried to come up with the next kind of hack, you can call it. Like, I'll write poems and use different words, and then from poems convert it back to verse. So he was experimenting with all different ways without a teacher, because he didn't have a teacher who could show him, hey, try this method. Because that's what happens, right? When you're a teacher, the teacher tell you, try this, try this. He had to come up with all of this on his own. And that's, so what I was thinking was that you could do the same thing for public speaking, right? So if you want to become a good speaker, let's say you watch that Sheryl Sandberg's speech that she gives, TED Talk. You can watch that TED Talk, make some notes, and then try to reproduce a speech, not exactly like hers, but something that may be related to your experience, but in a similar way that she gives her TED Talk speech about women leaning in. And then compare your speech to her speech and see, like, what did she do that was different than yours, that was more effective? Because her speech gets a lot of views. Your speech probably hasn't gotten any views, right? So you use her as the model and keep testing yourself and saying, okay, I see what she's done. She just comes across much more commanding. Can you be more commanding? She's much more organized with her speech. Then how do you come up with a better organization? So that way you have something to compare yourself with without having a teacher, but just as effective. So you're kind of coming up with these practices on your own. And that's what that's what the Franklin challenge is, that we need to do something similar for public speaking. How do you improve without somebody telling you, do this, do this? That's because you don't have a teacher. This Franklin challenge is a way to do it.
Okay, so this is what I come up with, and then don't give me an explanation. Just give me a sentence. Okay, this is what I heard. Self-improvement by picking a model and then doing emulating and self-feedback.
That's too long.
That's okay. Just rewrite it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what's wrong. I just want to hear your version.
Oh, okay. Learning how to speak without a teacher.
No, but your whole point was about modeling. So this is my turn. Learning to improve with using models, using an example.
Okay.
Learning to improve speaking using examples.
Learning to improve.
Okay, your turn.
Learning, improve your speaking by emulating excellent speakers.
Okay. Improving your speaking by emulating excellent speakers. Okay, so this is what I have. Self-improvement. Self-improvement by learning from excellent speakers.
Or just say become a better speaker by.
Okay, it's your turn.
Become a better speaker by copying excellent speakers.
Become better by, but you're dropping out this idea of self-improvement.
Because remember, this is one sentence. It can't be that comprehensive, right? We're trying to make it as best as it's generic as possible, and then we can fill in with details. But then
Okay.
the next thing would be the pitch. So tell me more about how this works.
Okay, so this is my turn.
Wait, what is the last one? Becoming
better by copying excellent speakers.
Okay. Oh, great speakers. Okay.
Improving self by learning from excellent speakers. Improving by learning from excellent speakers.
Okay, so I think that's the one that you're gonna stick with. I'm gonna.
Oh, you're saying this is it. This is mine. Okay.
No. That's because that's fine because we
right.
Otherwise, this can go on forever.
Right.
So I'm pretty happy with, like, if I had to explain to you, like if I say, so Jay, what is this Franklin challenge? I said it's a way to become a better speaker by copying excellent speakers.
Okay, that's great.
And my question is, does that give you enough to kind of get you engaged in having a conversation around? That's what that. I mean, it's a good exercise because you have to think about this, right? So if you say, well, so Jay, what is this Franklin challenge? Oh, Julie, Franklin challenge is a way to become a better speaker by copying excellent speakers as models.
Right.
I added two
you
more
don't
words
even need to say as models because copying is doing that. I think that's great.
Okay, so okay, so now give me yours. So Julie, what is this Franklin challenge?
Improving by learning from excellent speakers, by copying. Improving by copying excellent speakers.
Okay.
Improving my speaking by copying excellent speakers.
Improving my speaking by copying excellent. Okay, that's true.
I don't even need the skill, right?
Yeah. No, you want to keep it simple. That some of the added words don't add anything to it, actually. Okay, so improving my speaking by copying excellent speakers.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That was good. It's very nice.
That's what you have to do. That's what that going back and forth.
Right.
So I have to come up with one, you have to come up with one, and then we have to say, okay, this is the one I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
after 5 iterations, that's it. Then pick one. Otherwise, this can go on forever.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So we're good on that.
No, but what do you think of that? That's what I was saying was that's something that.
Sorry, we're busy doing that. We forgot that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, but I don't want you to add it to your book.
No. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, no. That's not what I wanted to hear.
Well, the old project, the programmer says to the project leader, I am 90% done. I don't want to hear that.
99% done. All right.
I'm 99% done. Yeah,
so we got 5 more minutes left. Anything else that you wanted to?
Well, no, I think
anything on marketing. Anything on marketing or anything that you wanted to discuss?
I can't really discuss marketing until you are clear on your book. So I'm shutting down marketing, at least on my end, until you. Oh, I did have one thing to say about your book. What the readers? I don't think it's a beta reader. I think it's an alpha reader. And And
No, I
that's
mean
just,
that might be the thing, but I can't. When I advertise, when I apply for it, I can't say alpha reader because nobody's going to understand that. So,
yeah, but
right.
you don't want to call it a beta reader though. You might want to call it like a preliminary reader or something. And the reason is the beta reader to me is like a dress rehearsal. It's
Right.
like all the grammar is fixed, everything is done, so people can give you feedback on the nitty gritty. But really, what you're looking for is a preliminary
Yeah.
reading. If you don't
Right.
want
Right.
the word, if you don't like the word alpha, I understand, but I think to say the word beta is misleading.
Maybe content reader.
Content reader, that's what she said. Yeah, she called
Content
it a content
content reader.
reader.
I want them to read the content, not worry about the grammar. So that way they just focus on the content.
Right. That's what they're called, the content readers.
Okay. So that way they just read it and tell me about the content, what they like,
Yeah.
what I need to
Because I
improve.
don't want you to get the wrong reader,
Oh, okay.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So,
that's what I'm really referring to, that I need to get the content all firmed up before
okay,
I. Okay. Hey,
great.
thanks a lot for your help, Julie, and I will get this posted in that document.
Yeah, and thank you for all your advice. So if I have time, I will send you my first hack, and then if you don't mind looking at it, give me some feedback. That helps a lot.
Because you're also working on something else that you sent me.
Yeah, it was the practice.
Yeah, what
The
I was referring to there was that from what you have done, come up with like an outline, and then
yeah,
just for the first version that I want you to send to me is not the one you're going to use, but just I want you to just this is part of the speech hack, right? So you
right,
got a lot of information already there. So
right.
what I think that take that and come up with a brief outline. Just
Yeah,
don't use
actually, I have
don't
an outline before I wrote it, so I
right.
have an
No,
outline.
but what I want to see is like what I want to see when you record your speech is the outline that you're going to work off. The outline should be very skeleton type, very
Oh,
skeleton.
you want me to send you the outline with the speech?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
but the outline should be like, okay, here's the intro, like one word or one couple of one phrase. This is the intro, and then work. Because remember, this is like your first cut, right? But the
right,
first cut means you're going to basically have all the material. Now you've got a brief outline that you're going. So you're going to use the outline as a way to give your speech, and you're going to go from start to finish, and that's your first version when you do that. But
okay,
you got to go from start to finish and work off the outline. You got to basically have the outline saying, okay, now, and even though it may not be smooth, I don't want you to stop the recorder. I just want you to continue and saying, okay, and if you don't know what you're saying, just say, okay, now I'm going to move on to my next point, like that. Fill in the words that you have to, because those things you can remove later on.
right. Okay,
Okay?
so you want me to get an outline, do the first hack, send them both to you, and then
Yeah.
you'll give me feedback.
Yeah, because then so then saying, okay, this is my first hack, and because it shouldn't be it's not something you're gonna like, but you never know. But remember, this is the one you don't have to have any pressure because this is the first time you're doing it, and you're just gonna go from start to finish on what you want to say. But you can't just say it unless you have organized it in some kind of an outline, saying, okay, so here are the three. Like just use your sandwich technique. So here are the three things I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about these three examples. And then, like whatever you've done, you've already written
Yeah,
it. You already have the content.
right,
What I'm saying is that I don't want you to focus on the content now. Internalize it, and then have an outline, and then give a speech on that.
right,
And then I'll give you my feedback and saying, Julie, that sounds great. Here's you can add more to it. This wasn't that clear like that. And then take
right.
that and then record the second version. And after the third one, you're done.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Julie.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot, and I'll talk
Have
to
a
you
great
later.
day. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.